Hi, this is Vicki of Green Eyed Lady Designs. I've just released a new product called Stencil Spritzers, and I thought I'd give you a short demonstration on how to use them. Now, I call them stencils because if you were in the paper world or in the art world, you could take a stencil and put it down on a piece of paper and spray over the stencil with some ink or paint over it. And when you lift the stencil up, you have whatever you were stenciling all nice and neat on your paper. Well, this is the same idea. It's the same look I was trying to achieve, only digitally. So, I've opened a new Photoshop document. Now I'm using Photoshop CS6, but this works in any version of Photoshop or in Photoshop Elements. I've opened up a new 12 by 12 document with a white background so that you can see what it is I'm doing. I've also brought in the butterflies from my Stencil Spritzer collection, and I've added a blank new layer on top of the butterflies. Remember that you always want to do your brushwork on a blank layer so that if you don't like it, it doesn't work out, or you want to change the color of it, you can do that easily. So a blank new layer that we're going to brush on. I've also set my color chips here. I'm going to be using this dark purple and a dark green. You don't have to use two colors. I'm just doing this for demonstration purposes, and it can be any color that you like. So what we need to do first is set the selection that we're going to be painting on top of. And we're going to do that by Control on the PC or Command on a Mac, Control click or Command click on the layer containing the butterflies to select it. And you see we have the marching ants now around the butterflies. We don't really need to look at the butterflies anymore, so I am going to press this eyeball here to hide the butterflies themselves so you can see the marching ants are still there. Next thing I'm going to do is target my blank layer where our brush work is going to go, and then we need to pick our brush. So you can press the B key on your keyboard or press the brush tool over here and then select your brush. Now I did provide you with a brush in this product, but you can use any brush that you have, and I encourage you to experiment. The ones that work very well are spray mist brushes, ink splatter brushes, watercolor paint brushes, but really anything will work. The more texture that they have, the nicer your effect is going to be. But as I said, anything that you have will work. Let's select that brush. And you may or may not want to change the size of your brush. This one came in a little bit small. I'm going to increase its size just a little bit by pressing the left or right bracket keys on my keyboard. Now making sure again that I've got my blank layer targeted over here and I've got the correct foreground color chip, I'm just going to start stamping over my image. And look at that. Isn't that cool? So what you can see is instead of a solid color, we're sort of getting some of that spray paint texture onto the canvas here. Now I'm going to add a second color, and to do that I'm going to come down here and add a new layer directly above the layer I was working on before. I'm going to switch my color chips around so that I'm working on another different color, and then I'm going to go ahead and just stamp down in a couple of places on this as well. Not a lot, a little bit if you like. Maybe reduce the size of your brush, maybe change brushes if you're in an experimental mood. Okay, brush, anytime you want to stop moving, that'd be fine. Okay, wow, that looks pretty cool. So I'm going to switch back to my Move tool by pressing the V on my keyboard to get rid of that brush for you. And now we want to get rid of the marching ants. We want to deselect. So that's Control on a PC or Command on a Mac, Control or Command D to deselect. And we're all done. Now isn't that really cool? Let me just make this a little bit better so you can take a look at it. Isn't that cool, all this texture that you see here in these butterflies? Now at this point you can move these over to your layout. If you want, you can grab both layers. I'm going to click on the first layer, shift click on the second layer, and then right mouse click to merge those layers. And now I'm going to drag these onto a layout I've already started. You can do that in any way that you would normally move layers from one document to another. In my case, I'm just going to drag them up to this tab where my layout lives, and then I'm going to position my mouse where I want to, and then I'm going to let go. How cool is that? I just really love this effect. It just adds a little artsy touch. Now let me show you one more thing before we go. Let's go back to our document here, and I'm going to hide that merged layer that I created, and I'm going to create a new blank layer for us to work on. I'm also going to zoom out again here. Now I'm going to remember how we selected the butterflies. You command or control click on the layer in the layers palette to select it. In this case, the butterflies didn't show up in black again because you see I've still got that eyeball off, but that's okay because that works. Now I'm going to click back onto my blank layer up here, make sure that's targeted, and from the menu I'm going to choose select inverse, and this is the same on in a CS or in Photoshop Elements. It's the same command, select inverse, and what that's going to do on your screen is you'll see now you have the marching ants around the entire document as well as around the butterflies. And what we've done is we've selected the opposite of the butterflies. We've selected everything except the butterflies. I'm now going to reverse my color chip so I get my pink again. Make sure my blank layer is targeted. Press B to get my brush, and I'm going to make this much bigger. I'm using the same brush, but you could change brushes if you wanted to. And now I'm going to stamp around in this document, and look what's happening. Isn't that cool? I'm going to get rid of my brush. I'm going to go back to my move tool so you can see this better. And I'm going to deselect the marching ants. That's a command or control D to deselect. And check that out. Now you have this beautiful white butterflies on this really pretty soft painted background. And of course you can move that onto your layout as well. I hope you've enjoyed this tip and that you've learned something today. And if you have any questions, feel free to leave me a message. Thanks.